How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another YouTube video. Today we're going to be doing the simplest and easiest light tutorial on YouTube. I'm going to go through everything and provide you guys some downloads, which is going to be the base model we're using, which is free, the light we are using, which is free, and I'm also going to include the carcals and meta files that you can just copy and paste and just follow along the video, so it's as streamlined as possible. You don't gotta search for anything. By the end of this video, you should be able to have at least one working light, and that is the biggest step in getting your foot in the door in this whole scene. If you guys are interested, just an announcement, I do a Patreon. I hate to do this, but it is $17 a month, but this is how the videos are, and there is so many things on there, 3D modeling, rotator lights, side runner lights. There's a whole list. There's like 50 or 60 videos on there that teaches you literally everything you need to know about ZModeler, different lights, how to mount lights easier, etc., etc. It's highly worth it, and I have a lot of positive customer feedback. So if you guys are interested in that, make sure you guys check out the Patreon in the description below. Again, $17 a month to access to like 60 videos, and again, you probably only need to subscribe for 1 month. Other than that, let's get right into the video. The first that you guys are going to need to do is download this base model, which is right here. Make sure you guys have WinRAR and you extract the files, and make sure you guys also download this Ion, which is from Otaku. Again, this is all free to use. I do not believe you can sell this part. Let's see. Yep, you may not sell this part. So remember, don't make the model and then go selling it, because A, you're new, and B, you can't even do it with this light unless you pay this guy a fee. Other than that, you guys need to obviously have a valid working version of ZModeler. If you do not know how to get ZModeler to work, there is a YouTube video on the how to do all that and get your license set up and etc., etc. So go check that out. But other than that, let's get right into it. All right, so the first thing we're going to start with is simply just importing in our car. So the easiest way to do that is we're going to go File and then Open, and we're going to find where we exported that charger, or did the charger RAR file, which mine is in my downloads. And as you can see, it's named the exact same as the WinRAR file, but obviously you extracted it. So we're just going to open that folder, open it again, and you can pick between the all-wheel drive or the rear-wheel drive. The only difference is I think some things in the interior, and I also think that the wheels are different. We're going to go ahead and do the all-wheel drive because that's what most police departments use, which is the Hemi with the all-wheel drive system. So we're just going to open that, and we're going to drag our center thing by just going in the middle and just dragging it. And we're going to set up our viewpoints. That's the first thing we're going to do. So I'm going to put this as 3D. I'm going to put this as top down. And we're going to put this to left. And we'll just leave this as UV mapper for right now. And again, you can just grab in the middle and just kind of adjust this how you want it. And we're just going to go up here and click L1 and then click L0. And we're going to keep it on L0 like that. So a little bit of controls before we get into anything. We can press our left mouse and kind of rotate around the views like this, and we can also press our middle mouse button down. So literally press the scroll wheel down, and we can kind of shift left and right. And by combining those, by turning and then using the middle mouse button, we can move around the scene like so. And then of course you can also use your scroll wheel to zoom in and out like so. And then if you hold Control and hold on. What is it again? If you hold left shift and your right mouse button, so not your left, you hold shift and your right mouse button, you can drag in and out. So while you're holding left shift and holding your right mouse button down, and you slide your mouse forward and back, you can actually get closer to the car to see what you're actually doing. So this is fully zoomed out, and we can get really up and close, and that's going to help whenever we start mounting lights. You'll see me do that while I do the video. So just to cover that, that's what you guys need to do. We also need to make sure that when we do this, we have some settings set up here. So if we go to our move, we'll make sure that our settings are like this. So we do not want move axes only on. We do not want affect children on. When we go to our rotate, we want to just rotate the geometry. We do not want to rotate the axes or affect the children or rotate normals. We just want to rotate geometry. For move, none of these are selected. For mirror, again, we're only going to mirror the geometry. We're not going to mirror the axes. We're not going to affect the children. So those are very important steps. So make sure you adjust those settings in your ZModeler, and they should save. Once you do that, you should be ready to go. Now we have some options here. So this is what you will see when you kind of open up any car, basically. or base model as this is called, we're going to have some options. So we have these wheels, or we have these wheels, and I'm just going to show you guys simply how you guys can choose a different wheel. So if we turn the whole car on by going down here and clicking show all, you can see that if we toggle both these off just by clicking these little boxes, we have these wheels standard installed. So if we just deleted that, we wouldn't do anything. We just keep these wheels and keep it moving. But let's say we wanted to install these wheels right here. So we have these kind of like NCHP, North Carolina Highway Patrol wheels. Let's say we wanted these. So let's go ahead and install them. So I'll tell you right now, this is not supposed to be here. So we'll just delete this. And all we need is this wheel _ LF in the brackets. And all we're going to do is click on our model and drag it below everything. So when we expand this by hitting the plus right here, we can hit the plus again. And this is going to open up our entire car. We're going to see all the things in it, from bumpers to doors to hoods to trunks. And I will say this, us Americans, we call a trunk, and obviously in ZModeler, this is a Russian software. So we have a boot and we have a bonnet instead of a hood. So keep that in mind. That's very important, because if you name these wrong, they will not act as a hood. They will act as nothing. They won't move. So make sure you name things bonnet or boot whenever you're messing with, a hood or a trunk. Very important. All the naming here matters, basically, unless it's something like, I lied. Everything in here that's named the way it is named it for a reason. It's not just randomly named that. So make sure you don't go in here and start editing names and putting like Easter eggs in here in case someone unlocks your model. Don't do that. This is named for a specific reason. All these dummies down here, from engine to neon, those are all important things that the game reads to allow features of the car to be on in game. But we are going to be replacing the wheels. So if we go ahead and look for the exact same thing, which is right here, we see wheel _ LF. And you can see if we hit the circle on it, if we actually open it up, and we kind of select the whole thing just to show you guys what I'm talking about. I'm sorry, we have our other wheel on. As you can see, if we toggle this wheel on, that's our wheel. So all we need to do is literally right click on this, edit, and then delete. So now our wheel is deleted out of the original wheel. All we're going to do is come up to our wheel, take it, drag the little thing down, and now it's installed. We can click show all, and our wheel is now installed. So we can delete these other two wheel variants, and now we're just left with our new wheel, and we already have everything installed right here. We do not need to add anything to the YTD, which is the actual texture dictionary of the car, so because it's already installed for us automatically. But in that download of that 18 Charger, you're going to find files. If we go in there and look, I've already included them in the YouTube download. It's a little link that you guys would get. But as you can see, we have our YTDs right here. These are just what you call fresh copies of YTDs. So these are just the base model's textures. And these are important to have on hand because sometimes your YTD will get corrupted or too big, and you'll have to come back to the original YTD and kind of re-import all your files. So when we get to the Ion and putting that in game, we're going to have to use a software called OpenIV. Make sure you have that installed, because we're going to need to use OpenIV to essentially open up the YTD and add in our textures of our Ion so that it actually has textures. If we don't do that, when we go in game with the Ion, it's going to be textureless. It's not going to have any texture. So again, make sure you guys have OpenIV. Other than that, let's move on to the next part. All right, guys. So the next part of this is going to be actually merging in our light. So all we got to do up here is go to File, Merge, and then we're going to find our folder for our Ion. We're going to open that up, and we're going to find that we see an Ion Z3D. All we're going to do is double click that, and it's going to pop up this little menu, and we're going to click All and then click Merge. So like I said before, if you see we turn the car off, there's nothing here. At least it looks like there's something there. We come up here and press L1 and then L0, you can see the light will now appear. Then we can go ahead and click Show All and then hide the car again because some of our files down here were not toggled on. But as you guys can see, if we zoom in by using the methods I told you at the beginning of the video how to move around, we can see our Ion. So we're going to do just a windshield mounted Ion because this is going to cover a lot of things that you might run into after you finish this video, which we're going to cover in this video so that you don't have to kind of guess. But if we go ahead and take our Spitfire, take our mount, we're going to look for everything we need. So we're going to need our ion itself, which I think is actually built into this. So we actually don't need that part. We are going to need this part. So as you can see, we have our, okay, I'm trying to, I've never used these before, I'm going to be honest. But, so we don't need the surface, we don't need this ion, and we don't need this, we just don't need these two. So delete these two. We're going to have our bracket, our lens, and then our emissives like that. And we are not going to be covering LODs in this video. We're just going to be doing L0 so that it's very rudimentary. Again, we're just trying to get a light to work and for you to actually physically do it yourself, so you have the confidence to keep moving forward in ZModeler, because that's kind of the biggest hurdle, is getting one light to work. So all we're going to do, once we have everything left over, we're going to click the bottom one, we're going to hold our left shift, and we're going to click the top one and click dismiss. And we are going to grab all the things that say L0 out of these. So we're going to open them up and grab L0 or 0, L0, or basically the top one in the hierarchy. So just grab the top one. Now we're going to just go to the bottom and hold shift, click, and then edit, and then delete. So now we have all the L0s pulled out. So now we're going to start breaking this up. And honestly, because this is all going to be the same thing, all we need to do is take this and attach that to that. We're going to take our lens and attach that also to our thing. We're also going to name these our sirens. So let's say you don't want this split siren. Not a big deal. So let's make this one solid color. So now we basically have gotten to the point where we have a light, and we have our emissives, which will be our sirens that actually flash. So if you don't understand how lights work in GTA 5 when it's non-ELS, basically what the light does is it scales down really small and then it scales up really big. And that's exactly what that's just how it works. So it gets small, and then when the lights get turned on, it scales up and scales down and scales up and scales down, and it uses a binary code to basically tell the car when to flash the light and when not to flash the light. So we'll cover all that, but as far as this goes, that's all we need to do. So we're just going to make one solid light. So we're just going to grab one of these and we're just going to select it using quad R. So go to select, go to quad R. We're going to drag over by holding right click and just dragging over, and it should turn red over here and also in the view. You could probably see it better if we go from the front, but as you can see, it's red. Make sure you have auto off down here. Never use auto, it's terrible. So just click it off like so. Just click it off. And all we're going to do is right click anywhere in the viewpoint, go to mapping, edit UV, and we're going to keep old mapping. We're going to be on edit UV channel 1, and we're going to have compact fragments to objects from viewpoint XY, and we're going to have everything else off. And all we're going to do is click this, force mapping onto material. We're going to scroll down until we see a texture called emissive. We're going to click on that, and we're going to click OK. And then if we go ahead and just reload our UV mapper by just changing it to left or right or top viewpoint, and then going back to UV mapper, and then if we just drag my big old head out the way, we can go over here and click material. Actually, we got to do this again. So right click again, mapping, edit UV. It should already be saved. Just click OK. Go to material, and then here you go. Once you go onto material and click the little up tab, you'll see emissive, which is the texture we just selected. And now we have our texture right here. So as you can see, this is where our texture is actually mapped onto the mesh. So all we're going to do is come up here to object, and we're going to right click and drag using quad R. We're going to go to modify, we're going to go to move, and then this is where you can actually change your axes, how things move. So obviously X is horizontal, Y would be up and down, and then Z would be kind of on a 3D scale as far as that goes. So X is like this, Y is forward and back, and then Z is up and down. So obviously we're moving this horizontally to the left, so all we're going to do is just drag it over like so until it's fully on the blue. And you can kind of zoom in and kind of look at it just using your scroll wheel. And now we have a fully blue ion. So if we turn on both of them and deselect the other one, we have a fully blue ion, as you guys can see. And we turn the light on. Now, if you can't see your emissive, all you got to do, I'm going to turn my head back over here. All you got to do is just come over here and just drag this above the glass. It's kind of just a hierarchy thing, but if the emissive is below the actual object, you won't be able to see it, but it's still there. So as you can see, we have our blue ion, and that's all we're going to be doing for today's video, just one light. So we can actually just disable our UV mapper. Make sure you deselect this in the UV mapper as well, and just change it to a different viewpoint, and just kind of forget about it. And all we got to do now is basically attach these together. So go to attach, go from the front viewpoint. We'll go over here, do it so it's easier to see. Go from the front viewpoint and then just click on one of them and then click on another one, and now it is attached into one object. And this object is going to be named Siren, all lowercase, all lowercase Siren, and then 1. I know that's pretty hard to see on the video, but it's just Siren 1 and the number 1, not the word 1. And then we can name this extra 1, which is going to be extra underscore 1. So that is how you actually make it an extra in the game on like V menu and stuff like that. So when you go on the extra menu and press extra 1, this is how you do it. This is the first step of it, at least. So all we're going to do now is basically go from any viewpoint. I prefer top. We're going to select all this using quad R, and all we're going to do is go to move and then put on our moving axis, which we're going to be on Y, X and Y, so we can just kind of move it around like this in ZModeler. And all we're going to do is just mount this, which I'm going to go press the back arrow because we're just going to basically mount this in the middle of the windshield. So leaving it on Y and then just dragging it to the middle of the windshield, looking at our 3D viewpoint like so. We're going to go from the left to make sure we're at the right height. So in the left viewpoint, our Y kind of moves it like that vertically, but at a different viewpoint, it moves it forward. So keep that in mind. Different viewpoints, the axes are different. It's really confusing. But all I'm going to do is going to take my X and Y and kind of just go from the left viewpoint and kind of just mount it like that. And it might be too far forward. It's kind of hard to tell. I don't think so. Also, if we just drag our car below our light, we can actually see it a lot better, as you can see right there. And make sure our little suction cups are not clipping. So just drag it back. And it really doesn't got to be perfect. Just kind of get it close, like so. And that should be good. I don't think it's clipping through the glass. But that is how easy it is to mount. Again, we're not going for mounting here. We are simply just making sure that our light is somewhere in our viewable distance to see and make sure our light actually works. So we can deselect this now. And we're going to need to go into our materials. So just kind of everything toggled off. And what we're going to do in our materials, which if you don't know where that is, that's going to be this kind of, I kind of call it like a magma cube, like ball of magma cream from Minecraft. That's kind of what it looks like to me. It's this little ball up here. It says material browser when you hover over it. Click on that. And we're going to scroll down. And we're going to need to do some rearranging in here. So we're going to want to do our emissive above all the textures we have. So emissive is above ion mesh, all this stuff. And because this is actually behind the windshield, because basically we added this onto the original car, if you think about it, our emissive is below a texture, which is the texture of our windshield. So if this light was, instead of being behind this windshield, it was just on the front of the bumper, nothing in front of it, this would work just like this. But because, and this is the reason why I did this and mounted it on the windshield, is because if you start mounting lights on the inside of the windshield or any other part of the car, you need to actually drag this emissive all the way to the very top, like up here. And it's always just a good rule of thumb to do it in the first place. Just drag all emissives to the very top of the hierarchy of the material browser, so that this emissive is above this windshield. So when the light is on, this emissive is actually going to shine through the window, or basically above the window. So that's very important. Now, another thing that most devs that, have these older videos that, don't really go over much as far as new stuff, you can see how our ion looks. There's something missing, and that's going to be our actual ion mesh. So if we kind of come in here and look, you can see our outer lens is above our actual inner lens, which I believe is this. Yeah. So We need this to actually be in front of this like that. And as you can see, now our light actually has a mesh behind the glass. If we didn't fix that, then we would just have like how it looked before, which was like what that don't look right. But again, we got to keep in mind that we have textures, especially vehicle badges, vehicle glass, vehicle emissive, vehicle light emissives. Those all need to be at the very top, especially when they're inside of a car. As far as like this, like a mesh, like literally I think just meshes, those do not have to be dragged up, but badges and light emissives and glass textures, they do. So what we need to do is take this exact same order and drag this to the very top, but not above the emissive. So put it behind the emissive like that, and then take the other one, drag this to the top, like so. So now you have the same order, but now it's dragged above the window. So now we turn this on, and even when we put this above this, I'm pretty sure. No, I lied. So don't get scared when you put your car back above it. It's gonna kind of disappear, but you did the right thing by moving the materials up like so. But now when we're in game, instead of, if we did not do what we just did, our light would A, not shine through the glass, so you would think it was broken, and B, okay, we moved the emissive above it, but we also didn't move the badges above it. So like I said, in these older YouTube videos, they show moving the emissive above it. But once we actually move the badge above it, we'll see like our suction cups and like the grooves on our light, and also like the actual inside of our light, which obviously we want the detail of our light going through the windshield. So that is that all set up. The only thing left to do is to do the actual Siren process and setting up this as an extra. So let's get right into that. All right, guys, let's get right into the Siren process and make this video a little bit shorter. So all we're going to do, make sure our thing is named Extra 1 and Siren 1. So this is Extra 1, this is Siren 1, as you can see. So all we're going to do is go to Select Quad R, make sure that's enabled, click it, drag by holding right click and just dragging our mouse, selecting it till it's red, and we're going to, this is the hardest part. We're going to go to Display. We're going to go to Reset the World, Reset the Parent, and all I'm doing is clicking on this and then clicking anywhere but on the object. So click, reset the parent, click, and then reset to local axes, which is this one, not this one, and click. And make sure your settings up here are like mine. So keep object, orientation, offset, those are not checked, but both is checked. So these exact settings up here. Now, once you have done that, you should see these axes that are actually on the object. That is extremely important. If you're not getting to this point where it's lined up like that, your light is not going to work. So make sure you have this. If you don't, you're doing something wrong, and don't go no further until you get it just like this. Make sure as well that you have auto off. Auto will not let you do what I just did, so make sure that's off. The next step is we're going to go to Create, Copy, and then again, just left click anywhere, and as you can see, that created a copy over here. So they have two, right, like that. See that? And all we're going to do is come down here and hold Control or Shift. What do you want to click? Control, you can select one by one. Shift, it kind of selects both, but you get the point. We're going to select both of those. We're going to right click and convert to dummy. So now these are dummies. These are stupid. They're brain dead. Just kidding. But now we have two dummies where our axes were. So our axes are now basically just dummies. But we still have our original axes on these objects. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag our Siren 1 into the dummy. So we have it basically dummy and then our actual emissive still. See that? And then we're going to drag our Extra 1 in the same thing. So we have our dummy and our Extra 1. So all we need to do for Extra 1 is simply just come up here. And this is also extremely complicated, but once you get the hang of it, it's like secondhand nature. You're going to turn everything off up here. Nothing is enabled. Nothing. Motion, burn, dirt, all that's turned off. We're going to go convert to compound, lock, L0, and drag the child, that's what we call this, into this box. And do not drag it on default. That will crash your ZModeler so quick. Do not do that. Click L0 and then unlock. I also probably should have told you, make sure you're clicking on the parent when you do that whole thing. Now, we have our extra one, which as you can see is just a dummy now. But if we click L0, it's now an object. So that is extra one, and if we click on it, you'll see that we have an L0 here. We can dismiss it, and it would kind of just break it back down into how the Siren 1 looks. But if you click on your object and it turns, and it's bold, and it says L0, you did it right. And if you turn on L0, you can see it turns into an object. When L0 is turned off, it's a dummy. That is literally an extra one. That's how you do it. It's that simple. Now, Siren 1 is a whole different ballgame. What we need to do here is we need to toggle on our parent, which is the dummy. Again, dummy, and then child, which is the actual emissive. We're going to toggle on our dummy. We're going to select it with quad R. We're going to go to properties. We're going to scroll down and open up this dummy node section, and we're going to go to our scale over here, and we're going to double click inside, and we're going to type 0.015, and the point is just a period, so 0.015. So that is just 0 and a period, 0.15. That's how it should look. Not 0.01, 0.015. And then all we're going to do is click apply. And as you can see, our dummy has went from really, really big to really, really small. And what this helps us do is hide this dummy somewhere that the person that's using this car in game cannot see. Because basically what's going to happen is when we're going to mess with the actual emissive, and when it's scaled down and hidden when the lights are off, it's going to be hidden basically where this dummy is at. So we need to hide the dummy to hide the emissive that's going to be sitting with it. And the scale factor we're going to be using in this video is going to be so small that you're not even going to be able to see it even if you wanted to. But it's still just a good habit to hide it, because some people's graphics are different than yours, and they might have lights insanely high to the point where they can see it. So all we're going to do is leave this selected. So make sure we select that and allow our crappy autosave to commence. Get used to it. If this is your first time in ZModeler, you're going to get autosaved a lot. It's going to cock block you. But once you're done, luckily, we're going to just select it again just to make sure. We're going to have our move and our Y on, and we're going to turn on our mesh. So make sure L0 is on. And as you can see, we have our dummy here. We have our mesh. So all we're going to do is just slide this dummy till it's no longer visible. So as you can see, our dummy is hidden. So we deselect it. It's completely hidden. So that's all we got to do. But importantly is we need to keep this dummy close to where the light is actually going to be flashing. So wherever this is going to be flashing, we need to keep it close, because this dummy is the same area where our corona, which is basically a digitally added in like color like effect in game, that tells, it kind of works with our light to make our light look more blue or more red or more amber or more orange. That's extremely important. And also there's certain graphic packs like NVE that make coronas like huge, like really, really bright. So if you went and you technically hid this light in the dummy in like the center console of the car, because that's hidden, when a person uses your car, it's going to have a corona in the center console visible to that person, and you do not want that, obviously. You could technically in the carcools turn down, just completely eliminate the ability to even see the corona, but again, you also want the corona because it makes your light just look that much better. So once we've done that, all we need to do is turn off our parent, go to our actual Siren, and again, I recommend using top viewpoint for this, even though it's it's just like a line. It's very useful. It's better than any other angle. We're going to go to quad R. We're going to select our light. Now, this is where it gets completely different. We're going to go to display. We're going to reset to parent. So our dummy is our parent. We're going to reset to parent. You're going to see your axes move. Again, if you do not see your axes move, there's no point in continuing. Figure out why it's not working. The main reason why it wouldn't be working, I would imagine, is you have auto on. You have, more than likely, you have auto on. Turn it off, and it should move. And make sure you're clicking anywhere in a viewpoint, and it should just move. Now, basically what we've done now is when we go and scale this light down, it's going to sit where we just moved that dummy to. So we just basically reset our axes to where our dummy is. So do you see how our dummy is the same axis point as where we just clicked reset the parent? That's what we call it, the parent. So the final part to this is going to be actually scaling down our light. First thing we need to do is turn off pivot. We've had it on this entire time, but if we leave it on when we do this, our light is not going to work. So turn pivot off. We're going to go to properties. We're going to go to scale. Now, not dummy scale, or I don't think it's here. We're going to be using transformation scale right here. So not dummy scale, how we did before. This is a whole different part of the menu up here. So pay attention. So now we're going to scale this, but it's not going to be 0.015. It's going to be 0.01. And then 0.01 and 0.01. So basically we're scaling this down 100. So our scale factor is going to be 100 in the carcals. Some people do 0.1, which is a scale factor of 10. The issue with that is your scale down light is going to be 10 times bigger than our scale down light. So if you're trying to hide a huge chunk of a light bar light in a tiny spot, it's not going to be hidden no matter what you do because it's just too damn big to hide in the light bar. By using a scale factor of 100, when I click apply right here, so watch when I click apply, making sure pivot's off, we click apply. Do you see how tiny that gets? You probably can't even see it on the damn screen, but it's there. We scroll all the way in, you see it. All we got to do is deselect it by holding left control and right clicking and dragging. That deselects our object. And that's it. So we got our dummy, and our dummy is basically even though our dummy is micro size compared to a whole object, our light fits in there because we used a scale factor of 100, not 10. Some developers still use a scale factor of 10. I don't really care about any beef anymore, but a person that I know that used to use scale factor of 10 was Redneck Modifications. He used a scale factor of 10, and no shade towards him, but sometimes you could literally see his lights hiding in like the light mesh because he used a scale factor of 10, and it was so big that you could see it. Versus if you use a scale factor of 100, it's going to be almost impossible to see, no matter if you put the dummy right in front of the character's eyes. It's so tiny you probably can't see it. So the final thing we got to do is the same thing we did with extra one. We're going to go to structure. We're going to turn everything off up here. We're going to click on our parent. Make sure this is all empty. We're going to click convert, lock, L0, drag our child of Siren 1 into the thing, making sure we don't drag it on default because that will crash our ZModeler. We're going to click L0 and then unlock. And that is the Siren process and also how to make an extra. There is one last step we need to do before we go in game, and that is just to add a collision for this light so that it actually works as an extra. So all we're going to do is go up here and grab a box. So just click the box thing, and I'm going to do this from the side. I'm just going to click a corner. Just click, drag it over. You see it forming, and then click to where we want it to end. And if we kind of just look at the top viewpoint and click again, it's going to click OK. So you're clicking 3 times. And I've always found that no matter what you do, you're always going to have to adjust it. So we got a box. Obviously, that box is not big enough. So we're going to turn everything off. We're going to go to select quad R, right click and drag. And we're going to use what is called vertex mode. So click vertex and then click anywhere in the viewpoint. And it's going to turn like this. And what we can do now is use quad R again, select, and we can go to modify, move, and then by selecting the X and only the X, we can turn our object back on and simply just drag our box till it's big enough, and we can hold control and right click and deselect, and that is our collision. So now we can just click object and come back and then hold control and deselect it, and we're going to name this box extra _1, the exact same name. However, we're going to use a straight bracket, not the squiggly. So that's straight, that's squiggly. What's straight? COL, which is short for collision, and then a closing straight bracket at the end. And all we're going to do for this is simply watch very closely. This is different. We're going to do collision, convert to compound. And that's how easy it is to make a collision. for an object. And like I said, this collision is important because if you don't do the collision, more than likely, when you get in game, you will see extra 1 actually in the menu. But when you hit to toggle it off and on, it won't toggle off. It will just be on. So make a collision. So again, that's extra _1 space straight bracket COL, all capital, closing straight bracket. And then all we did up here was click COL and then convert to compound. And now we have a collision. So now when we turn everything on, we have our light, we have our extra. We just drag the collision in to the thing. Simply just drag it on top of extra 1 and it will just go to the very bottom. But as you can see, our collision is not visible. That means we did it correctly. So if we click on the collision, you'll see it says COL here. We click on the Siren one, it says L0. Click on extra 1, it says L0. And if we go to our collision, we actually don't got to go on to it, but we just click the COL button at the top. You can see our collision for our light. And that works for the same thing for everything in this car. So if we go up here and kind of look, we click collision, you can see all the collisions for the cars. So besides that, we can drag our cop car down, open it up, and just drag extra 1 at the very top. Make sure it is underneath the chassis. Make sure it's not above the chassis. So it goes main model, open up the chassis, and then that's where you put the light. And make sure it's at the top so it's just easy to find. It's just kind of a rule of thumb. And then we can just minimize everything and click show all just to be sure. And if I was you, I would save this, and the next step is going to be simply exporting this out. Make sure you guys have downloaded my included car files, and we are going to put this puppy in game here in a few minutes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the final stretch. All we need to do is to make it compatible with the working files I'm giving y'all. Just name this Justice 1. That's very important. So it's going to be Justice 1, and we're just going to do some checks real fast. We already checked that our light is all L0, it's all set up. We want to make sure our materials are all set up. So we have our emissive, we have our inner lens, we have our outer lens at the top. So that's important. Make sure we got everything down here up correct. Make sure everything is all good. And what we're going to do now is go to File. Move my head out the way. We're going to go to File, Export. It's going to pop this giant window. We're going to come down here and change the Save As type to GTA Rage Model, YFT, YDR, YDD, all those. Click that. And we're going to have some settings down here. So a lock basically means that we're locking the model. We cannot come back with that file and open it in ZModeler. Now, if we turn that off, we can. But the good thing is that we have a Z3D file, which is better than a YFT file. So we're just going to leave lock on. If you want, you can turn it off. You're using free parts, so it doesn't really matter. We're going to have same thumbnail, skeletal, sure, and then export LODs. We're going to set this to all. That's not 100% correct, but again, we are just trying to get a light to work. So all we're going to do in the file name is type Justice 1. And all we're going to do is press enter. That's going to export our model. We should get a thing down here that says export to all LODs, hierarchy elements, blah, blah, blah. If it's not red, or I think it's red, I think. But if you just get this, you did good. All we're going to do is come back up to the name, and we're going to type _ high. Not HIGH, but HI as in high. Not high, you know. And all we're going to do is do file, export, Justice 1 _ high. And press enter. And just to check and verify, our file did what we wanted it to do. If we look at Justice 1 and Justice 1 YFT, which I exported these into my downloads, obviously make sure you export them where you're going to find them. If we go ahead and look over at our size, we can see we have data there. If it's like 200 or like 1 or 3, it didn't work. Make sure you got everything resolved. Make sure you're using a valid version of ZModeler. But it should be around 5,000. 4,000 or 5,000. If you're using the exact same parts as me, it should be 5,096, which is exactly what it should be. So all we're going to do is, obviously, I hope you guys, if you guys are making vehicles, you have a test server or you have a server of your own and you know how to install vehicles. If you don't know how to install vehicles, make sure you watch the YouTube video on my YouTube. I have that as well. All we're going to do is find our Justice 1 folder, which I included in the downloads. We're going to open up our stream folder, and we're going to just hold Control, select these 2 files, and just drag them into our stream folder. Now, we are completely done with ZModeler. We don't need it anymore. And what we're going to need next is OpenIV. Now, like I said, I have set up the carcools already for y'all. Again, we're not making light patterns. We're not making a working police car. We're making a light work. That is what's important here. This is the first hurdle of your GTA 5 development career, man. So we're in OpenIV. If you never used OpenIV, make sure you install that. I do not have a video on that yet because OpenIV kind of handles like texture packs, and I'm not really trying to uninstall it just for a YouTube video. But there's plenty of them out there. Go watch an OpenIV video. You're going to need what's called a mods folder in here. And we're just going to go up here and click edit. And all we're going to do is just delete this old YTD from a different video. And we're just going to drag our YTD that I included with you guys. We're going to double click it. Make sure edit's on. Make sure this is enabled. And all we're going to do is click import. We're going to find our Wayland Ion folder. And as you can see, we have our textures. What we're going to do is select these just by right clicking and dragging. I'm sure you guys have used Windows before. And we're going to click open. That's going to add our files by clicking OK. And all we're going to do, as you can see there, you can see them down here, right? You can see them. Click save. And we have now added our Ion textures into our car. And all we got to do is just delete this old YTD and drag in our new one like that. And that is all OpenIV is used for. You can also change liveries, which is like the design on the car, and add textures, like I said. But that is all we need to do. We can close out OpenIV. And like I said, if you've downloaded the files I've included, you are done. All you got to do is start this in your server CFG and go in game and hope it works because it is your first model. But if you guys are interested in carcools, this is where all the brains is at for the model. But basically we have our Siren 1 right here. And we have the color, which this right here is a color value for blue. This right here is for red if you were interested in making a red light. And then this number right here is how you actually change the light pattern. That is a hexadecimal to a binary number. This number is hexadecimal. Binary is 1 1, 1 0 1 0 1 0. The 1 turns the light on, the 0 turns the light off. GTA 5, however, reads hexadecimal, so that's how that works. It's a 32-digit binary number, so this is all information that is not very important, but I'm just going to cover it for those nerds that want to push forward without the new video coming out. But that is our light. I'm also going to, before I send this out to you guys, I'm going to change this to 1, change this to 1, and change that to 1. So that kind of adjusts our corona. As you can see, corona. If you guys have never done coding in your life, you're probably like, what the hell am I looking at? I understand. But we just adjusted that. But this is how you're going to get the file. And all you guys got to do is just drag the YFTs and add the texture into the YTD. And honestly, I will probably give you guys the YTD already with the textures in it because why not? But if we just close this out and that automatically saves on my computer. All we need to do is start this and go in game. If you don't know how to start a file, we're just going to right click and rename and just use that to copy our name because it has to be exact. Capitals do matter when you're starting a car. So if we go to our server CFG, mine's a home hosted server, so it's on my computer because I'm cool like that. If we go and just simply erase some of these and press Control V, we have our start and our car. If you look up here, we have all the stuff that usually comes with a fresh server. Yours might be up here at the top. I don't know. But make sure you have your car started and you have vMenu or some sort of menu to spawn it by name because that's how we're going to be spawning this. This is not in like a emergency vehicle category. It actually is, but you can't spawn it through a menu like that. You're going to have to spawn it by name. So once you've done that and saved that, we can now go and start up our server and test and see if our light has worked. Let's go. All right, guys, we are in game. Let's go ahead and open up vMenu. It's either M or it's F1. I'm going to go to our vehicle spawner, spawn vehicle by name, and our vehicle's name is Justice1. Press enter. There's our car. And as you can see, our light has our texture. If we go to vehicle and then vehicle options, we can actually go down to vehicle extras. I'm sure if you guys are making police cars, you guys have done this with other people's cars. I'm sure you guys are not that dumb. No offense if you don't know what you're doing. But if we take extra 1, as you can see, our light disappears. It's not there. If we hit Q, there's no light flashing. We press our extra 1 on again. I've not tested this, so let's hope I'm not making a fool of myself. Let's press Q. And as you can see, our light is flashing. I think it has a very weird flashing pattern. But yeah. Yeah, it's a very weird flashing pattern. But it works. If we go ahead and make it nighttime, this should be flashing blue. So let's check. Come on. Flash, little guy. Look. See the blue on the front? And headlights off. See that? What a weird binary to put for us. But it's kind of blue balls you, you're like, did it work? Did it not work? I don't know. But as you can see, this is the exact effect you guys should get if you followed the video and watched every bit of it. I know it is a long video, but this is the biggest thing, getting a light to work. Once you do this, you've done knocked out everything else. And the reason why it's flashing like this, like I said, is because it's just how the flash pattern is. Again, we're going to cover that in different videos depending on how good this video does. But I hope you guys had a great day and are very happy that you have a working light. You can pat yourself on the back because this, again, once you do this, the world is your oyster. So I hope you guys had a great day, and I will catch you guys in the next ZModeler tutorial. Peace out.